Hello, Christopher Brent here, coming to you today with a podcast on learning an instrument by ear and how that stacks up against the traditional method of learning an instrument through reading music. So I'm going to talk about both methods and some of the pros and cons that can be associated with them. I am a piano teacher, and I have a music degree, and of course I learned to read music at a young age, but I did learn a lot by ear, and I can definitely see the advantages of learning by ear. So let's talk about that one first. A lot of students learn by ear. I'll use the piano, for example, because that's the instrument that I have the most expertise on. So learning by ear can be very beneficial, and a lot of students learn that way by hearing sounds, finding the melody on the piano, or finding the chords on the piano. Sometimes it's a matter of improvising around through feel and a little bit of trial and error. And this is obviously a big part of musicianship, so it's certainly a wonderful thing. In a lot of jazz circles, this is obviously common. And then growing up in the church, this is common if you're playing gospel music, especially in maybe a Baptist church. There's a lot of jazz sounding groups with a little bit of gospel and funk fusion kind of all blended into one. So you'll learn your way around that style, maybe with a little blues thrown in there as well. And I have taught a lot of students who've played it almost exclusively in this kind of environment, and they have a tremendous ear, and the skill is amazing. Not just a matter of perfect pitch, but just the sense of relative pitch, knowing intervals, knowing chords, knowing changes, just by listening, and also moving around into different keys and different key areas and be able to function sometimes with very complex harmonies. So the sense of oral awareness and listening and learning by ear can be a valuable gift. So now let's go to the other side and talk about the traditional method of learning by reading music. So this is how I first learned music. And what you do when you're reading the music is you're seeing everything on the timeline. The musical score is basically a picture of the sound, so you're seeing it. It's visual. There's that aspect, which can be very important if there are specific intentions by a particular composer. And this is what you get in classical music. So if you intend to play classical music, you're basically going to have to learn to read music. Can it be done without this? It's possible. So if you're somebody who's visually impaired, you can still play classical music. Obviously, you're going to have to really develop your ear, of course, and many people have done that. So there are ways of going about it, but by and large, you're going to have to learn to read a musical score if you're going to want to play classical works by Bach, Mozart, Beethoven, Chopin, Brahms, Schubert, the list goes on. So it's very important to be able to learn to read music. You're learning pitch and seeing it visually on the score. You're learning rhythms. You're seeing how they function on the timeline. You're being able to grasp the idea of eighth notes, quarter notes, half notes, whole notes, 16th notes, and you're seeing the fractional rhythms right in front of you. So that's a really valuable skill to have. And then if you want to play in both styles, both jazz and classical like I do, you can go from one end to the other. You can play jazz and learn a lot of that by ear. Then you can go accompany someone or play classical music on the other end of the spectrum, and in that environment you're learning to, or you're reading from the score. If you're accompanying a choir, you're reading from the score. So you have that skill. It's really good economically if you want to make a living as a musician to be able to learn to read music and to read charts so you can get more gigs, right? But there's a valuable visual sense that you can get from it that just can help you musically, whether you're seeking to be a professional or not. So I would advise you, if you do not know how to read music, to give it a shot, right? Maybe try to get the basics online or go to a teacher. That's what I would recommend, is to go to a private teacher and have somebody help you through the process of learning to read music. And this applies to all instruments, whether it would be violin or trumpet or voice or whatever it may be. So there's advantages to both reading music and learning by ear. Sometimes one of the, if you want to call it a disadvantage, one of the situations I often see by people who have played by ear their whole life is sometimes they do some odd things with their technique, or they use some weird fingerings because they haven't learned that skill, maybe from a teacher, or they just haven't learned to see it visually, right? Because when you read a musical score from the piano, you're seeing what fingers to properly use at a particular time. So that can be another valuable asset. It can help your technique, actually, when you learn to read music in a certain way. So again, I would advise to look into reading music, and I think there's a lot of benefits that you can get from it. You can learn to see very specific things that a composer requires, such as dynamics, articulation, and pedaling. So this is something that's very important as well. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me at chrisbrentmusic@gmail.com. Also, check out my website at www.christopherbrent.com. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, and write to me if you're interested in doing piano lessons over Skype. That's something I do, and I can work with you whether you're a student of jazz, commercial music, pop stuff, Broadway, whatever it may be. I can definitely come up with a good curriculum for you because I'm versed in many styles. So hope everything is going okay for everyone out there, and I will be doing more podcasts, so stay tuned to my YouTube channel, and I will talk to you all soon. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.